My name is Renee, and we are at Heemans Strawberry Farm and Greenhouses out in Thorndale, Ontario. It was started by Bill and Susan Heeman back in 1963. Very humble beginnings, just a small strawberry farm. They had a small little stand at the road to sell some tomatoes. Eventually, they put up the greenhouse, started selling some flowers. That then expanded years later into our berry beanery, where you can get our lovely sundaes that we're well known for and our milkshakes. Tom then decided that he wanted to become a beekeeper. So then they expanded into honey and most recently into the ciders that we're going to be tasting today.
And it's not just the little stand on the side of the road. You've got quite a lot of buildings, quite a lot of process going on here. Tell me a little bit more of what's here on ground.
Well, about 90% of our facilities you cannot see as a customer. We have had tours in the past, which is a lot of fun. I highly recommend them if we're able to do that again once all this COVID fun stuff is done. There's a lot of cool stuff to see back there, a lot of excellent staff that are back in our production greenhouses and everything. And the farms behind us where all the strawberries are grown, and there's some across the road as well. Quite extensive area. Lots of fun people working here doing some pretty miraculous things. I learn something new every day, which is quite wonderful.
And we're here sampling a couple of the cider. Can you tell us how they got into cider?
Well, that is a really fun story. So Tom and Susan started that back in 2019. It was just a dream that they wanted to kind of follow. So they started off small, just doing little test batches, sampling with their friends and family. It was a hit, so they went, we're going to continue with this. And they launched their first one, this original here, and that was the beginnings. It went over very well. They sold out their small batch that they did in one day. And thus they continued to make more. And as things progressed, they've come out with a total of 15 different ones now, I believe it is, including some meads as well.
And we've got a few that you're offering here for us. Can you tell us a little bit about what's in front of us?
Yeah, so today the first one that we're going to be sampling is our Dry Empire, and I will say that this is my absolute personal favorite. It is nice and dry and crisp and quite a lovely, lovely cider. Next up, we're going to be doing our Blueberry after that. This one was a huge seller. We get asked about it all the time, and I had heartbroken people at the holidays because we just didn't have it in stock, as it is one of our lovely seasonal ones. Lovely notes of blueberry and raspberry in there from our partners out in Norfolk is where we get the blueberries for those guys. A little bit of orange zest to give it some zing. Very lovely. The following one after that is going to be the original. Can't go wrong with a classic. Beautiful crisp apples in there. And then on our berry blush here, we'll be finishing off. We've got notes of strawberry and raspberry, both that are grown on site here at Heemans.
What would you say the styles are for someone who hasn't tried it before?
Ooh, styles, that's a fun one. I don't know ciders as well as Susan does. For me, they're definitely a much more approachable cider than some that I've come across just in my personal samplings. Much more fruit forward than some that I have personally encountered. And I find that makes them a much more enjoyable cider, as a lot of our customers have commented that they don't typically fancy cider themselves. But with it being so fruit forward, it is a very, very enjoyable, refreshing beverage, and sometimes it's a little easy to forget that there's alcohol in there.
And they, as you said, quite a large variety of offerings that you have. Is there something that you've tried that you thought was really good and you're hoping to bring back, or something you tried that you thought maybe could have gone better and it'll either come back or come back in a different way? Ooh,
the one that I've tried that I will very, very much hope that they're bringing back, and Susan has assured me that it will be. I kick myself that I didn't buy an entire case. They did a whiskey barrel aged pear cider, and I cannot rave about it enough. It has, when you drink it warm, it has notes of a really, really expensive smooth scotch, which I did not expect opening up a bottle of pear cider. I know some of my coworkers weren't quite as big of fans of that one just because it is a little bit on the drier side. But with me being more of a beer drinker and a dry white wine drinker, that was my absolute favorite of a seasonal one. In terms of ones that haven't gone over as well, I genuinely can't think of one that we have had a bad response to. I don't think that Tom and Susan are the type of people that would have a bad one come up and actually release it to the public. I'm sure that there's been several test batches that I'm not aware of that they were like, not quite right. We just recently had our cherry mead, is our early summer seasonal, that went over incredibly well. Notes of, cinnamon, cherry pie, very much reminiscent of that. Made you feel like you were at grandma's in the summertime for a beautiful picnic, and I didn't think that would be possible to bottle that, but they nailed it.
And you've obviously adjusted and modified. You've got a drive-through spot for pickup for berries and so on, especially with COVID. How was that thrown a wrench into plans, not only for the farm itself, but maybe even the cider as well?
You know what? You have to adapt, and I can't speak more highly of the family for doing that. They have kept us all so safe and comfortable throughout the craziness that we've encountered the last 2 years. The drive-through was definitely born of COVID and just necessity of, the worry of maybe we're not going to be able to be open for the summer. We have all of this beautiful produce. How are we still going to get it to people while keeping everyone safe? And the drive-through was born. It got such great reviews that even though we are allowed to be open in store, we have decided that it is going to be a remaining facet of the facilities, because when you want your fruit, sometimes you just want to get it and go and head up to the cottage or wherever you're heading. So it's COVID has brought both challenges and some really interesting adaptations that will be going forward for the future, for sure.
And do you have anything that you're expecting to see coming out new, again, whether it's cider related or not, that you can talk about maybe in the fall?
Yeah, so I know that they have been telling me that there's stuff coming. The ones that I am aware of, I know that we're supposed to be having I believe it's a peach ginger mead that's supposed to be making a reappearance. Last year was its first emergence onto the scene, and it went very well. Definitely a spicier one. For ginger fans, for sure. I'm really interested to see if they do a little bit of a stronger peach note myself this year on that one. I personally like the ginger. As I said, I like the dry, not so sweet stuff. So the nice spicy note was a very refreshing twist on a beverage that I wouldn't typically expect to find in that type of thing. So we should be seeing that one very shortly here. And honestly, they keep throwing curveballs at me with all these new flavors. When they told me about the cherry mead, I was like, hold the phone. You did what now? So they are just boundless creativity. So I have no idea what they've got in store for us, but I can only imagine that there's a lot of good stuff coming down the woodwork.
And if people want more information on where you can get the product and so on, where is the best place to go for information?
Yes, you can absolutely visit our website. We have our lovely coworker Marilyn, who is monitoring our feeds on a regular basis, so you would probably get in contact with her, or possibly Will Heeman himself. Sometimes is answering messages on there if you have any questions, but there's a lot of information available on there. Will's also quite frequently making different posts, especially when we have new releases. There's always a good amount of information that he sends out there, but you can always just pop in store as well. We'd be more than happy to chat with you and show you what we've got.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to sampling some of the ciders here.
It's been my pleasure.